Welcome everybody to our Lift Up Women in Life Sciences live event. We're back again this month, and this month we're talking about data, AI and the future of STEM, shaping the next frontier. And if you haven't been a part of these Lift Up live broadcasts before, we've been doing this now for about 3 years and 2 months, so it's gone extremely fast. And it's been an absolute exceptional journey that I've been a part of with the group of ambassadors here within Fraser Dove and the Lift Up community group. So Lift Up, we're all about championing women all the way from academia through to C-suite within life sciences. And if you haven't been a part of these live broadcasts, I just want to bring to your attention that Lift Up was born off the back of Fraser Dove International, the global executive search firm that work within life sciences. And we as a group of ambassadors thought internally, how can we try to give back to this important life sciences industry by connecting senior leaders within the life sciences group to really help them share their career journeys, their hurdles, their challenges, to really help inspire and connect, whether it's the next generation or it's C-suite members that are looking at board level positions in the future. So it's been a privilege that I've been a part of this, doing the Lift Up live broadcasts every single month, where we've had, something like, I think 120, 130,000 global views now across various different continents. And we've got our Lift Up Women in Life Sciences page with nearly 3,000 followers. So thank you so much for those of you that have been a part of this incredible journey and still come to join us. I'm Louise Williams. I am the MD here at Fraser Dove. I've been in staffing for about 20 years now, life sciences for around 11 years, and I've got 2 kids, a 9-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son that keep me very busy outside of work. But without further ado, I've got 3 phenomenal key speakers that I'm really excited to bring into this discussion today around data, AI and the future of STEM. And without any further ado, I'm going to bring Erica Smith into the live broadcast to do her introduction for us, if you'd be so kind. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you, Louise. Hello, everyone. Erica Smith. I am I lead value and access at Chiesi in the US, and really passionate about health equity topics and work, and also our global diversity and inclusion work that I'm involved in as well.
Thank you, Erica, and thanks for the introduction. And we've got Sherrita Dorsey. If you could do your intro for the audience for us, please.
Hello, so great to be here. I'm Sherrita Dorsey. I am the U.S. head of patient and professional advocacy at Amicus Therapeutics, and really excited to be here and to talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, being a nurse coming into the STEM world as a clinician, and then coming now into the life sciences for the last 15 years. So really excited to share my journey and the insights around how we can evolve in the world of AI. So
excellent. Thank you, Sherrita. And last but certainly not least, Sandra Lopes. If you could do an introduction for us, please.
Absolutely. So I'm a Portuguese pharmacist, but based in Barcelona, where I work for Esteve, and I lead the areas of quality, safety, data integrity, sustainability, where, of course, digital AI, it's all included. And if that was not enough, I do have 2 kids, Mariana, 14, and Gabrielle, almost 10. And digital, it's their life. So I'm with you, Louise, on that.
It's a balancing act, isn't it? Especially with the modern digital world as well coming into play. But thank you so much for joining us today. I feel like this is a really, really important topic. And for the audience, we're trying to carve this almost out into 4 really important key takeaways and sections that we want you to get involved in today. And that is effectively raising awareness. Okay. Women in STEM make up probably around a quarter, I think it's 24% to be specific, in the global workforce of women in STEM. But there's actually around a 1/5 of women that just make up the sort of AI and the data orientated roles. So even of a smaller gap. So we want to be raising awareness. That's important. We also want to be breaking some barriers, right? Looking at some of the real challenges in which we're facing at the moment, and what does the next 5 to 10 years look like? Thirdly, keeping the humanity in the loop, right? It's AI is taking over, but what we do know is that women in boardrooms, the EQ, the CQ, the balance and the diversity of leadership and thought is so important. That's something that AI can't obviously simulate. So the humanity element is really, really key. And then last but not least, it's kind of the opportunity ahead, right? What does the future of STEM look like and AI? So 4 buckets, some great questions lined up. But what I'd love to say to the network here that are dialing in is just say hello in the comments, pop in where it is you're dialing in from, your name. We often get a real global reach. Perhaps put in what area within life sciences you're working in, if it's clinical, medical, regulatory, technical operations. So just pop that in, because this is what this networking is all about, is saying hi and connecting with others. And last but not least, if you've got any questions to ask the speakers as we go throughout the live broadcast, just pop in a Q in front of your question within the comments, and it'll help me hopefully pull out those questions and bring them up on screen. So without further ado, we've got, I think, somebody already that's dialing in. And just so you know, if it comes up as a LinkedIn user where we can't see your name and face, you might have your privacy settings set to hide or off. So that might be why. But thank you so much. Pop the comments, keep them coming through. And let's just set the scene. I think what we wanted to do is dive straight into thoughts from the speakers here around how do you see data and AI transforming the life sciences sector right now? And where, if you do you see women leading this change? And maybe Sandra, I'll come to you with this question first, if that's okay.
Sure. So already today, AI is transforming the fundamentals in life science. You can name it like discovering molecules, clinical trials, risk in quality, safety, supply chain value. So everything around me actually has a part of AI and is developing. But according to McKinsey and to MIT, all of this is great. They say the biggest transformation will be human in terms of culture, workflow, and leadership. Mm-hmm. And coming to your question, the leadership part, it's where women, we are not leading it. And you share some numbers, right? AI leadership, we have less than 20% of women giving the governance, making the decisions. So we are not leading it yet, but we could, because we have the profiles to excel at this human transformation that I have mentioned. It's part of our superpowers. And just to add a personal example, the youngest generations, like my daughter that is a teenager, or my colleagues' daughters, they are actually repelling AI. Some of them think that AI is cheating. So if we want to do in the future, we have some homework to do there, explaining how AI can leverage our intelligence and not really replace it. It's definitely not cheating. It's a leveraging element. So yes, we are not leading it yet, and we need to do some homework to get there.
I love that. No, brilliant. Thanks, Sandra. And Sherrita, what's your thoughts in regards to this question?
Well, I think from a efficiency perspective, to Sandra's point, I think the efficiency component of AI is definitely being used more broadly across the sector. But I'm most excited about the opportunity to improve outcomes for patients, right? When we look at our overall purpose in the life sciences is around what can we do to improve life. And so we're looking at the technology and the capabilities that AI is bringing around earlier diagnosis, treatment modality assessment, kind of lining the correct treatment modality with the patient's symptoms. We're looking at clinical trial recruitment and the efficiency of clinical trial recruitment and reaching into communities we haven't reached into before. But I'm most excited about the future of AI as it relates to those components, because I believe if we build this right, and if we embed the right concepts and mindsets and equitable insights, we can truly reach into communities and cure and improve diseases that we never could before. So
yeah, completely agree, especially the communities with the unmet needs that maybe don't have the right funding or the right networks and groups to support. I think the equitable piece is super important, and hopefully in the future, AI is just going to help bring all of that together and drive it forward. So very completely agree. And Erica, your thoughts with this one?
Yeah, I think from a market access perspective, when I think about AI, I think about speed. Everything is happening faster,
Yeah.
faster reviews, faster data analysis, faster, and we're doing it in life sciences. Our customers are also doing it. So when I think about that piece, I think what Sandra said about the human element is so important because that sort of human connection that's going to foster meaningful conversations and negotiations which lead to better access for patients is going to be so important. And just to kind of build off what Sherrita said about the data sets and about the equity is where I have seen. I have a pleasure of being part of a Tequity advisory board with a health foundation, and some of the female founders who are really taking on these challenging questions about equitable care and leveraging technology, leveraging diverse data sets to build technology is really inspiring and encouraging.
Yeah, very well said. And you mentioned speed, and this might flow a little bit into this question here. What systematic barriers still hold women back in STEM, and how can technology or policy help close those gaps? But I was just thinking about a barrier, and I know we've not discussed this necessarily before, so I'm freestyling here a little bit, but is speed always better?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know what your thought. I'll come to you with this, Sherrita, first, maybe.
Yeah, I would say speed is efficient speed, right? And purposeful, thought out speed, I think is important. So I think we could speed up to slow down to speed up, right? And I think where we are right now, you're hearing a lot about AI and the potential of AI, but I think that we need to be purposeful about ensuring that we have the right ethics, the right insights to ensure that we're making the right data-driven decisions. I tell people all the time, behind every number is the life of a patient. So we have to ensure that, we're not going too fast. But I like the speed component as it relates to figuring out how can we free up our minds and really open our minds up. I like the efficiency of AI.
Yes.
We're not spending our time thinking about things that AI can support with, so we can then free our time up to focus on some of the bigger, more important topics.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you think exactly the same thing, Erica. It's kind of speed to efficiency, isn't it? And using AI as an enabler, not as a replacement, so to speak.
Yeah, and also an opportunity for women. I too am a mother of three boys who are now in college, and I'm not going to be able to say that. Almost 3 recent college graduates. And so when I think about the opportunity inherent for women here, I really think about I have never met a better multitasker than a working mother. The ability to hold all of these fast moving parts all at once is something that I think women can really leverage as a skill to help set us up for success, to be leaders in this world.
Yeah, no, I love that. And Sandra, sort of more on this question specifically. What's your thoughts with this question?
Actually, I was thinking about speed on the other
way. You go.
Because we women tend to be very patient in what regards to career progression or moving forward. And sometimes we also confuse being needed with being valued. And I think this is very important also in the AI frame, because we don't need to learn how to code. We don't need to be fast in learning the technology piece, but we need to learn how to do good questions, either for the adoption of AI, either for our career, and how can we be part of these leadership roles, right? One of the barriers that exists for women in STEM, actually, it's ourselves. It's us, that we are somehow embarrassed of giving visibility to what we do good. And I love an initiative that started in Google 2016 that is called I Am Remarkable. It's not women specific, but it helps minority groups or less favored groups to learn how to showcase the good things they do so they have visibility and how to talk about these things. So I was thinking sometimes our speed, it's slow in these terms of patience when we could accelerate a little bit more in communicating and, I would say, asking for what we are worth for. Maybe a little bit different perspective.
Yeah.
Louise, I was specific to the systemic barriers. A thought that crossed my mind is that we often aren't specific enough about what those systemic barriers are. And sometimes that causes a couple things. It can cause someone to feel like they're individually being attacked because you're saying barriers or bias or something like that. But something very specific I just read yesterday, and it has to do with LinkedIn. So shout out to LinkedIn. But there was a trend this week, a viral trend, where women tried switching their LinkedIn gender to male and swapping their language to more kind of bro-coded language around like drive, accelerate, perform.
Yeah.
And women saw like a staggering increase in one instance, 1600% increase in profile views, a 1300% increase in impressions, over 400% jump in reach. And when we talk about systemic barriers, this is, you know, I know we're also gonna talk a little bit about the bias in the machine, but that is part of the systemic barrier, because it is, and it's not just data in the machine, so to speak, it's perceptions. It's what we've all learned. It's our life experiences that have taught us to even, you know, have you ever taken one of those tests where you're like thinking of your own bias? And I'm like, surely I am not thinking like that. I am, but we are. So those sort of like systemic barriers are really important, and it's why technology can impact it. We can create policy that creates transparency around what we measure that can help to change those things.
Yeah, I love that. I hadn't even clocked into the fact that LinkedIn had done that this week. So where was I? I'm not sure. Not on technology, obviously. But yeah, no, very interesting. Sherrita, is there anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say I think the points are very valid. I like the idea of Google's approach as it relates to ensuring that we've got to do something extraordinary to change a mindset of women, but also underserved communities. I would say, as we look at the statistics, 22% of AI work, AI workforce is definitely women. But I think as women, we should also stop and pause and understand that we lift as we climb. And when you look at underserved populations, African American women make up 3% of that same workforce, and Latina women make up 2%. So I think when we talk about speed and creating inclusive environments, I think as women, we have an amazing opportunity, not just to benchmark where we are as it relates to where in a man's world or where men are, but it's also to say, how do we intend to do better than they did as it relates to being inclusive within our own gender? And so I think, you know, these are the types of things that I think from this dialogue and understanding, we have to all come together as women.
Yeah.
So this is the time for us to rally around that. So as we grow together.
Yeah, I love that. That's some staggering statistics there. And before we jump into the bias in the machine, so to speak, I just want to quickly come to the audience, because we've had lots of messages coming through. Hello from New Jersey. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for joining us today. We've got Sherrita from Houston, currently in the life sciences field. I don't know if she's somebody that you know. We've got Sunny in Florida. I can't get through all of them, but is it Shalila in Pennsylvania? We've got Ali here in our New York office. We've got Oksana, who's in Amsterdam, who joined me on last month's live broadcast. We've got Vanda from Qatar. Wow, we've got lots of people dialing in all over the place. So I might not be able to get to you all, but thank you so much. We've got lots and lots of activity. If you've got questions, pop in a queue before the comment. It's just a lot easier for me to bring it out, but I will try and do my very best. But let's talk about biases in the machine. As fundamentally, right, We know that they're embedded into AI tools. They're giving different career advices to people, sometimes a bit more male orientated. As come out on statistics, we're seeing gender stereotyping with some recruitment AI tools. There is a lot of biases going on in the AI world. So the question to you ladies is how, AI is learning from data, but data can be biased. We know this. Where can you see AI as amplifying existing biases at scale? And what do we kind of really need to be doing? What's some thoughts in how we can progress positively in this space? Sandra, I'll come to you first with this question.
Well, first, AI is not really intelligence, right? AI learns with the world we give it. So we need to be conscious of the world we give it.
Like that.
And if we remember and if we refresh the data from Sherrita, it's not even the women that are something to be paying attention there. So we need to ensure that we have a diverse human experience in AI, more than gender, I would say. And the only way to assure this is to make sure that the women are part of the steering committees of the governance bodies that are doing the design and the decisions, because it's not a tool thing, it's a design thing.
Yes.
And the fact that women are there, they can fight against some things. For example, I have heard that we don't have more women in the leadership of digital data or STEM because actually women don't want leadership roles. It's not part of their ambition. So I went to check if this was true, and it's not. So according to IBM, to Lean or HBR or whatever, we are as ambitious or even more ambitious than men. But this type of truth, this type of wording can come from steering committees that are not diverse. So we need women there to make sure they have these decisions. And then as a continuity, we need to make sure that the tools, the systems, they have equity audits or checkpoints. It's kind of my area, right? Quality audits, control, accountability. But we need something that is embedded to make sure that we are always checking who is impacted, who is invisible, who might be being damaged by bias, etc. So having women there, women that behave with like women profile, not trying to copy the men words that Erica or this language that Erica was trying to do, with our emotional intelligence, with our superpowers, and then having the checkpoints that are always working behind. This way we can assure we have an AI that or a machine that is not as biased as is it today.
Absolutely. Very well said. And it is just authenticating the algorithms with a diverse pool of individuals. That's effectively what it is, isn't it? Because as you've said, it's not necessarily intelligence, it's just about what has been created, the foundations in which it's been built upon. Erica, your thoughts with this question?
Yeah, not a ton to add. I just think that where things are perpetuated is that's very important for life sciences is around like the lack of diversity in clinical trials. So how can Sandra's much more of an expert than I am as to how that can be corrected for. But when I think about the fact that for instance, women's hormones excluded them from clinical trials because it was something that couldn't be controlled for. And yet that leaves women with, like me, with kids that are this age trying to figure out like, how does this medicine work for me? Or what is this disease state different like for me? And so figuring out how to correct for those things when you're making decisions about women's health, I think is just really important. And I hope there's a lot of people a lot smarter than me working on figuring out how to do that.
Love that. Sherrita, you were going to say.
I would just say that when we begin to look at it is about leadership too, right? Like, so who is making the decisions are we at the table making the decisions? That's just really, really an important topic. And are we at the table in an empowered way? I saw a quote that representation is a visual, but influence is a structural
I saw that too.
And I thought that was very powerful. And we have women at the table who do not have the courage and the power to be able to speak up and embed some of the changes. So I think that's an area that we can be at the table, but we have to ensure that the right people are at the table having the right conversations. So that's one. I think the other one is root cause analysis. Why are women not at the table? And some of that research has shown that women are a little bit more sensitive to trust, right? They don't trust as much. They don't trust the security of the data. Those are some of the things as well. So when we went to take a look at, so 71% of AI skilled workers are men, right? And they have innately a comfort level with AI and using the technology, where we are not quite there yet. And so I think we have to create use case analysis that include women. We have to talk about and have transparency around our data protection rules and laws. We have to begin to talk about balance, work-life balance, and how AI also potentially improve not just in your work life, but also the efficiencies in your personal life to get more comfort with leveraging the technology. But I think having courageous women at the table who feel very comfortable with saying better if, right, we could do this better, and do a little bit more root cause analysis and sharing of what's working well.
Yeah. Wow, lots to take from that, Sherrita. Completely agree. I think that there is I think I might have read that article as well. It was sort of around tokenism versus person of influence, and seeing more females starting to get added to photos or website boards, or it would, like you say, it was more of an imagery as opposed to actually a person of influence. So that's really important, and we know how important that is, because the more diverse leadership squad you have, the more diversity you have in CQ, EQ, and IQ, right? And cultural dynamics, all of the positive traits that females can bring on the empathy side, leadership, multitasking, as Erica said. It's just getting a very well balanced, isn't it, board? So that's really important. But also something else you said, Sherrita, around the 71% male. Actually, I read something similar as well over the last week or so around the fact that there are more males in a workplace environment that lean into using AI tools, ChatGPT, trying to create prompts, all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
So, it's a bit of a raising awareness, this platform as well. And whether it's companies need to maybe create workshops or initiatives internally or whatever it is to try and draw some of the female leaders or female work employees in to try getting them more engaged, because we know the more that they are a part of creating the algorithms, creating the platforms and tools, the better and more diverse and unbiased these hopefully platforms will be. So I completely agree. You kind of touched a little bit on, sorry, Sandra, you go for it.
If I may add to what you said, because training is also part of my organization, you said something very important. We don't learn all the same way. Not women,
Right.
not men, and not a lot of other stereotypes. So this tech academy or these workshops that you are mentioning, they will be successful if we do it thinking about the target we want to influence or motivate to be in.
Very
and
true.
This is a detail that will make a difference in bringing more women to the new skills of digital and AI, that if we don't do it. So adjusting the training will be key for this thing that you are mentioning.
Yeah,
Sandra,
I love that.
To Sandra's point, where we've seen some successes in industry is looking at your employee resource groups too, and beginning to kind of dig into some of the cultural competent insights that you can get from those individual groups, and beginning to use your own internal organization as business resource groups to understand culturally and to build that competence, but doing it internally and doing the training aligned to some of the cultural sensitivities, as well as the community and learning differentiations in those groups.
Yeah, completely agree. I think that's extremely valuable, actually, insights. And I think, Sherrita, you were touching upon the equity piece. That's something I'm really really keen to touch on sort of the global equity angle, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we know that AI is shaping how we discover drugs, how we design clinical trials, and how we deliver care. Okay, but we also know that the richest data sets are often coming from, those healthcare centres that are very well resourced, very well funded, and unfortunately, some of those communities or certain geographical areas, healthcare centres, with the greatest unmet needs, just don't have that level of awareness, spokeswomanship. And I think that that's just a really important topic to cover, the equity angle. So how can we make sure that AI, is advancing and it benefits everyone, not just those with the high access sort of data and funding and infrastructure in place at the moment? What's your thoughts with that? I'll come to you, Sherrita. Yeah.
It's so from multiple angles. I would say from a business excellence perspective in life sciences, a lot of the launches that are about to happen over the next couple of years are launches that are in communities, diverse communities. And so when we start to look at, to Erica's point, when we start to look at clinical trial recruitment, right, and ensuring that we are early embedding the voice of the patients and the insights of the communities into our clinical trial recruitment, we're therefore going to have a lot more culturally competent and relevant marketing resources and important launches. So I think from a business perspective, the equity side is not, it's a very business important mindset to have. As we look at from a health systems perspective, we have to be honest that AI is a reflection of society. And so if we have healthcare bias within our healthcare systems, that AI is going to reflect that. And so I think it goes back to Sandra's point. We have to ensure that the right people are at the table early on when we're designing algorithms. And so when you begin to look at the AI life cycle, at the very front, when you're designing, you're really beginning to look at the conception of bias and weeding that out early on in the algorithm build, right? And so when you get to the end to assess, you're already embedding some of the algorithms that can support with removing bias early on. And so we just have to be purposeful and deliberate and understand it's the right thing to do ethically, but it's also the business savvy thing to do up front. And you know what we do now will determine our ability to reach communities and save lives where we never have before.
Yeah, very well said. And you ladies might be able to answer this. I don't necessarily have the answer for this, but when I'm thinking to myself is we've got all of these great AI tools that can give us this information and intel now, but is there also a bit of a, don't forget the old resources way, because if you're plugging in certain things into AI, I know you laugh, but if we're getting the kind of biased responses, whether it's on healthcare centers in the US, and we should be going out to this sort of recruitment talent pool for these clinical trials, and it's kind of like use it as an enabler, but don't be solely reliant on it. Still go back to that's just what's on my thoughts. I remember I spoke to a lady last year from Boehringer who I had on a live broadcast who, she was extremely passionate about the recruitment into clinical trials in the US, because there were some small healthcare centers that were massively underfunded, off the radar, minority, with gender, ethnicity, all sorts of different things, right? And, she was getting a real bug because she felt that some people were being recruited, but by being recruited in, it meant that they had to leave their jobs. They weren't getting funded for not working for 2 weeks of doing the trial. There were so many nuances. In my mind, there is a little bit of use some of the old school fashion tools and the resources versus some of the new AI enablers to get the blend. But I'll stop talking there.
Well, I'm laughing because, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was laughing because my children are often asking me, Mother, why are you using the printer so much, right? So I'll go back to the old school. Do you have your phone, all the technology in your hand? But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can imagine that we know what communities need, but we don't. And so that's why partnership and collaboration is so important, and policy change is important. So open source tools, that leverage AI, affordable cloud infrastructure, policies that incentivize equitable data sharing, and working with NGOs, working with community health partners, thinking about imaginative places to partner. These are most of the world's problems ahead, I think, cannot be solved by individual people, individual companies, individual sectors. So how can we work, for instance, with folks who are looking at creating accessibility in remote places to just the internet? And then how do you build from that? How do you work and energize and educate community health workers and really talk to bring the community perspective out? Like those things for me are the are opportunities for a lot of different places, but they're so important for this when you think about what health equity means and what it can mean. We are going to get to a place in population health, arguably we're there already, where we can no longer, we have to start desegregating data and understanding individual populations and treating those individual populations in order to bring up the overall health. And we can only do that when we find those sorts of partnerships, when we change policies and where we actually listen to communities instead of prescribing behaviors for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also about having a trusted form of information, right? And trust is a huge component, as we realize on the advocacy side. It's not a national game, right? It's a boots on the ground approach that we have to begin to deploy, and I think it's important to be thinking about who are the trusted sources of information, going back to our churches, going back to some of our community-based organizations. I do think public workers, healthcare workers are really important. We saw that role of them grow during COVID, but it is about building trust and being in those communities early and often and creating transformative programming and resources and policies. But I do think taking the time to pull policymakers, healthcare workers, as well as industry and the patient in the room together and early on brainstorm around what we believe is needed so people can feel part of the transformation as opposed to having the transformation impact them on the back end. So, yeah, I agree.
Well said. Sandra, what's your thoughts with this?
While I was listening to you both, I was thinking maybe digital can help here to do the pair between the needs and the solution. And this needs to be public-private. I absolutely agree. So if we have this source of truth, identifying the needs, and we have the companies that are willing to do good things because of corporate social responsibility and some other give back programs. So maybe digital can build a program or something that can pair very easily, very quickly, these two, and then making this equity faster, coming back to the speed and giving it back a little bit of what AI will bring us. So I see actually digital as a big opportunity here of making it fair for everyone and bringing equity
into the table.
Equity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, completely agree. I think I'm just coming back to the audience because they've just popped in. So quite a lot here. Small steps are important with understanding the fundamentals and translating that into using solutions with the Microsoft suite. The concept of AI can seem overwhelming, where usage can be as simple as summarizing documents, automation project status reports, pulling data. Absolutely. There's so many enabling tools there that can support and make speed to efficiency, much, much better. We've got Monet, who's dialed in here. Thank you so much for dialing in.
Monet.
Do you know Monet? Thrilled to join and learn from the conversation. We've got Barbara as well from New Jersey. We've got another LinkedIn user. There are wealth opportunities that lie within operational and program management functions that could transform productivity and efficiency for teams. We've also got Shuli, who I've known for many years now. She's joined us here from London. I'm really interested in this area and supporting AI literacy with resources to help people in pharma be confident to engage with AI which is great. And Monet has just popped in. I completely agree with her points on clinical trial recruitment. Increasing diversity is essential, and these emerging technologies can help broaden access for underrepresented groups. AI also presents a valuable opportunity to reduce bias and create more equitable clinical trial outcomes. I completely agree, Monet. I think the underrepresented groups, with what Erica initiated the conversation with around the segregation of pools and geographical areas and groups, I think what is really key. Not an expert as you are, but talking a lot to people in the industry, one of the biggest problems is just this blanket approach sometimes, or a drug that's been out in the market but it's been testing for 30 years on white males over the age of 40. And the more diversity, the more populated groups, the more segregation we can do, hopefully, the more tailored some of the outcomes will be. Was my thoughts. So I'm popping in, I'm flipping around all over the place trying to bring up my next question. So one of the things that we haven't really touched upon, which was kind of the industry and the academia collaboration, which I think is important, just talking about the continued future as to where we want to be going. Where do you see the biggest opportunity maybe for collaboration between industry and academia and policy making to drive equitable innovation? I'll come to you, Erica, if that's okay, on this question first.
I think it really builds off what we were just talking about before, and we've certainly seen that in partnerships from our perspective and work that we've been doing, especially around health equity. I say to folks often that I've been in the industry for longer than I'd like to admit. And I have had a lot of doors shut in my face, but never one when I start talking about these topics and how we drive change. And folks kind of, the bobbleheads start like, yes, and we've got to find a way together. And so there's opportunity for us to leverage that. There's such an interest in AI, as everyone has said, that these are opportunities to jump on technology, to start those conversations, to share data. And I think it's important to really be thinking about governance, right? So what does collaborative governance look like in the future? We have to establish that. I think that can help to quell some fears that exist around what can happen. And so I think that's a real opportunity with industry and with policymakers, is just to set some governance that others can duplicate, that can kind of start taking some of that fear of what collaboration could mean away.
Yeah, very well.
And I would say also use cases, right? So, I think that in transparency of data sharing, right, ensuring that we are outwardly sharing where these types of initiatives have led to positive outcomes for patients, but also business outcomes for organizations. And I think, and doing it the right way. And so I think, transparency as well as exposure. So exposing people to AI earlier. And that's the reason why I like working with, work for organizations that really took a deliberate effort to say, the only way we can truly have transformative change in communities is to go in and actually work with them at the local level. And so I think through partnership with industry and in academia, we have the ability, one, to support reaching patients that we've never reached before. We have the opportunity to build in protocols that improve healthcare bias, because partially the reason why we don't have patients in clinical trials is also, it's not just the responsibility of the industry, but it's also the responsibility of health systems. So, working with HBCUs, historically Black universities, medical schools, nursing schools, beginning to say these could be internships to where we're exposing the academic institutions and universities to industry, and having, giving them use cases where they can problem solve and bring those solutions back to industry. So I've seen some of that work, but at the end of the day, do we have the performance measures at the top levels to say, we're holding ourselves accountable for review of data that we're holding. So benchmarking that, companies who do that well and actually have measures for impact, I think really show that they're committed to
the collaboration. Yeah, love that. And do you, same question to you, obviously, Sandra, do you feel that you've seen an uptick in that collaboration over the last 12 months 24 months? What's your thoughts with the actual reality of people collaborating across academia and industry?
Well, I have seen an increased trend in terms of people we are receiving from the academia to be part of our staff in terms of masters or trainees. So when they finish or when they are finishing their graduations, they are coming to our company and they are bringing their youth and their startup spirit and their entrepreneur way of doing things into the company. That's something we have increased the number of vacancies for this purpose, and the other way around. So I know there is a difference between US and Europe, so in terms of risk appetite or experimentation. And for us in Spain, in Europe, it's a privilege, it's an opportunity to ask the academia to do this experimentation piece of our use cases, very well defined. They can play around and then they can bring us back for implementation, as Sherrita said. So all of this is increasing. The use cases we are sharing with a lot of privacy data assured, and the talent we are receiving, and then they become part of our staff in big majority. So I see an increase over the last years.
Love that. Yeah, love that. And I think you can definitely feel it in the industry. But I think, as Sherrita said, maybe a bit of a takeaway here is just measuring the impact. How are we measuring the impact, and how can we continue to see that grow? We've been 46 minutes already. So we're going to have to wrap up in a minute. But there's one last question I just want to throw out there, because it's something we've always finished on across the Lift Up Lives, and it's nice little takeaways we can take across the years. But what one bit of advice would you give your younger self if starting out? Erica, I'll come to you with this question.
Yeah. Two quick things. Don't just be curious, be vocally curious. I think this gives all women an opportunity to ask a question in order to prove something about themselves and the way that they think, but also to solve problems more broadly. And the other thing is, I've always had the attitude that I don't care who gets the credit, I just want it to get done. But I found as of late, somewhere along the way, I should have been taking some credit. So take the credit when it's your idea, when it's your project, when you're the one that drove something to success.
Like that. Back yourself almost. And no, completely. Love that. And Sherrita, your one bit of advice that you'd give your younger self?
Well, and people are going to be shocked that I'm going to say this, but often being 5 to 7% randomly of African American women in leadership roles coming in early for many, many years now. And there was a time culturally we were told, you have to work 10 times as hard to be seen, right? And be careful as you're in the room. And so I would just say, tell my younger self to get comfortable with not shrinking, right? To understand that my superpower is my authenticity. And for that, innovation and transformation will come, but also to not believe I need to do more than others, right? And to have more balance and reflective time to truly lean in and appreciate the hard work that I put in. And so being on the back end of my leadership career in pharma,
I love that.
you get tired, right? And so
so be yourself, be authentic, show up, stand up, speak up, all of that lovely stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
and
I love
recover.
It. And recover. Excellent, thank you. And Sandra, your response to this one?
As I was born a perfectionist, I would say courage over perfection. Don't wait until you are ready. Just start, find a problem, find something you can make a solution, know how to ask the right questions, find a mentor, find a sponsor. So the first step, it's the most important. Don't wait, just take the courage and start building your career and start building your knowledge around this area, because it's the future. Either you are in or either you are out.
Yeah. Love it. Step outside your comfort zone and have courage. don't always wait as well for something to cut. Yeah, go and seek it out. I love that. I completely agree. Some great responses there, and I think we're going to have to wrap up. We've got some more comments. If there's any other questions there that we haven't managed to get round to, I'll try and have a look at the comments once we finish the live. But we've got our Lift Up Women in Life Sciences page, so if you're not connected to it, then get connected. You'll see when our next future live broadcasts are coming up. We've got one in December, which is around entering board seat positions, very similar to some of your younger self quotes would give to yourself. It was around backing yourself in big career decisions. So as we've kind of labelled it, boardroom bravery. So that's going to be our December topic. But yes, thank you so much to all the audience that's dialed in, your comments. Thank you for the key speakers here today as well. That has joined us and given some exceptional advice and knowledge from your career journeys. And last but not least, it's Thanksgiving on Thursday to our American colleagues, friends, customers. So I hope all of you have a very restful break. Enjoy it with some family, friends, as I'm sure loved ones that you will. And we'll be back again next month. So thank you and all the best for now. Bye-bye.